Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to my channel guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of my fragrance challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. In this challenge I'm trying to wear 300 different scents as my scent of the day in 300 consecutive days. And in today's episode of this challenge I'm going to cover days 50 to 56. I started off this week with a scent from the house of Ard Al Zaafaran, and in fact 3 out of the 7 days in this past week I'll be wearing Ard Al Zaafaran fragrances. The first one, as I said, on Monday, for the start of the week, I went with the Midnight Oud. This is super cheap, ultra affordable alternative, or let's even call it a straight up clone of Amouage Interlude Man. And despite the fact that, as I said, this is super cheap, costs $20 or even less in some places, this will get you super close to the original scent. You get all that spiciness that you get from the original scent, all that uniqueness, all that darkness that you get from the original scent, with nice performance to go with that as well. Now, this is not as beastly as the original, but still this is a super strong fragrance that easily gives me 9 to 10 hours of performance on my skin without any problem. The presentation can be a bit tacky. Also, this fragrance, you can find this fragrance with a total of 3 or 4 different caps. All around, as I said, it's super cheap, at the same time super great. So if you're looking for probably what's the most budget friendly alternative or clone of Interlude Man, you can take a look at Midnight Oud from Ard Al Zaafaran. If you enjoy my content guys, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss any of my future content. Okay, so the fragrance that I first showed you, Midnight Oud from Ard Al Zaafaran, was my scent of the day for day 50, and for day 51 of this challenge I went with a fragrance from the house of Ajmal called Evoke Gold Edition. A really unique bottle design that's really nicely combined with this glossy golden color and finish to the bottle itself. A really unique bottle. The fragrance inside, the scent inside, is a clone of Prada L'Homme Intense. Now, some people compare this to the original Prada L'Homme, but to my nose this leans a little bit more to the intense side. You got almost the same players that you get with the original fragrance. You got neroli and the black pepper in the opening. The dry down, you get sweet but still fresh and soapy kind of iris, the way that Prada likes to do their fragrances. You get some oud, some patchouli, some leather, some violet leaf as well with this fragrance. A very nice copy or clone of Prada L'Homme Intense. Performance here is solid. Price tag, if you search around, you'll probably find a good deal on this fragrance. All in all, if you're looking for an alternative or clone of Prada L'Homme Intense, you can definitely take a look at Evoke Gold Edition from Ajmal. For day 52 I went with another iris based fragrance, but this time around it was an sort of a lipsticky powdery type of iris. The fragrance is called Futura Homme, and it comes from the house of Armaf. And this is an interesting fragrance that to my nose it's close to Valentino Uomo Intense. Other people seem to think that this is closer to Dior Homme Intense, but those two fragrances, the original scents, they're actually pretty close to each other anyway. So think of this as something between Valentino Uomo Intense and Dior Homme Intense. You got lavender, you got bergamot, you got coffee, you got iris, lipsticky kind of iris, you get some leather, you get some cedar on the dry down. A really nice alternative to Valentino Uomo Intense, at least in my opinion. Quality here is very good. This is one of the older Armaf fragrances. I think this fragrance was released back in 2016 or something like that. It's not very well known in the community, but if you're looking for an interesting alternative to Valentino Uomo Intense or Dior Homme Intense, definitely check out Futura L'Homme from the house of Armaf. For day 53 of the challenge I went with the second Ard Al Zaafaran fragrance for this week, and it's called Oud 24 Hours Majestic Gold. Now this is a very underrated fragrance, at least in my opinion, and a very interesting fragrance. Now people say that this is a clone of a Stronger With You leather. Unfortunately I have not tried Stronger With You leather, but this definitely carries the Stronger With You DNA. You got that sweet fragrance that has amber, lots of vanilla, some florals in the opening to give it a slight touch of freshness, and there's definitely a leather note in this fragrance. And this was actually one of the first fragrances with a strong leather note that I was starting to enjoy. Now, year and a half later, I really like fragrances that have a lot of leather, but when I was sort of beginning my collector's journey, I wasn't really that big of a fan of the leather note, and this is one of those fragrances that actually kind of made me interested into the note of leather. For day 54 of the challenge, I went with another Ajmal fragrance called Orbiter. Now this is very new to my collection. In fact, I acquired this fragrance just this past week, and this was my first actual wearing of this fragrance. Now this thing is just starting to pick up some interest and some hype in the community, for the reason that this is called a clone of Dior Sauvage Elixir, and it definitely carries pretty much a lot of that same DNA as Sauvage Elixir. This thing though differs a little bit. The opening to my nose is a little bit more fruity. You get a grapefruit note in the opening of this fragrance, which makes it a little bit sweeter, a little bit more citrusy, and a little bit fresher. The dry down is where things change a little bit, and to my nose the original is sweeter, where this is more woody compared to the original. So far I've given it only one wear, but it seemed to last quite a good time, at least 7 hours if not more. So, and also this is very cheap. I picked this one up for something like $25. So far this seems to be a pretty decent alternative to Dior Sauvage Elixir. I'll test this more, and maybe a few weeks down the road I'll do a full review of this fragrance, but so far this seems to be quite interesting. My scent of the day for day 54 of this challenge was Ajmal Orbiter. For day 55 of the challenge, I went with my third and last Ard Al Zaafaran fragrance for this week, called Tafakhar. Another super cheap fragrance that's a real hidden gem in my opinion. It carries some of the Carlisle DNA. You get a similar, apple note in the opening, a sweet, boozy apple note in the opening. On the dry down, you get some woods, you get some spices, you get sweetness from vanilla. The dry down is quite different from Carlisle, but the opening is quite close. So think of this as more of an alternative to Carlisle rather than a straight up clone. As I said, dirty cheap. Again, another fragrance that costs roughly about $20. Performance here isn't the best, 7 to 8 hours, maybe close to the 7-hour mark. Projection also in the first hour is good, then starts to die off a little bit, but this is a really interesting and cheap fragrance for the cold months of the year. And my scent of the day for today, day 56 of the challenge, was from the house of Zimaya, and it's called Sharaf, the Club. This is a fragrance that shares bottle design with the Sharaf blend, which is a totally different fragrance, probably the best clone of Angel Share. This one is, as I said, very different, and this is a different take on the Creed Aventus DNA, Creed Aventus scent. What Afnan through their Zimaya sub-brand have done here is taken that very famous DNA and made quite a few twists on it. This to my nose feels fruitier compared to the original scent, and most of the clones out there also feels fresher. It also feels kind of salty. Really interesting fragrance that's not linear at all, changes quite a lot throughout its life. The opening is fresh and very light. The dry down starts it starts to become fruitier. Then on the deeper dry down, I start to pick up a bit of that smoky vibe, that incense vibe that you get with most clones in the original fragrance. I'm still testing this one out. Performance so far seems to be very decent, somewhere between the 7 to 8 hour mark. All in all, a very interesting and unusual take on Creed Aventus DNA. My scent of the day for day 56 of this challenge was Zimaya's Sharaf, the Club. And so guys, this was all for yet another episode of my challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. In today's episode, I covered days 50 to 56 of this challenge. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that I'm going to see you in my next video. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.